everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here, and I have officially been tagged. Yes, my good friend, who I haven't actually mentioned in a while, Rachel W. She used to be going by Rachel Wagner here, but now she has officially just taken the last name out and made it a W. She tagged me in a newer tag that is floating around YouTube these days that was created by Christina Horner, and her video, of course, will be provided in a link in the box below, as well as Rachel's tag video. This is based around Disney's newest Pixar film, Inside Out. It's the Inside Out book/film tag. So, I'm actually going to do both books and film because I love to do all of this stuff, because even though I love film, I love the booktube community, and I really want to be a little bit more involved in the booktube community. And just so you all know, at the end of August, there's going to be a book haul video from yours truly, because I actually am going out to get a whole bunch of books, because with my master's degree finally being wrapped up in December, there's going to be so much more time to read, and there's so many books I just have to get started on. So that's where we're going to leave that for now, and we're going to start the Inside Out tag. We're going to start off with joy. What book or film makes you the most happy? Well, in regards to books, I am going to go with J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. It is an amazing adventure that just makes you feel so happy. Just watching these creatures in Middle-earth going off on a crazy adventure to take back their homeland, and Bilbo Baggins coming out of nowhere to be the hero he never thought that he could be. It is such a heartfelt book, and it's amazing that when you compare it to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, how much tamer and lighthearted it is. So much, in fact, that there's a lot of people out there that have actually read this book for school. But I loved it. I'm also a fan of the films, I won't lie. I mean, it's still a great book no matter what, even though a lot of people have knocked the films, especially when you compare them to Peter Jackson's original Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now, as far as a movie goes, I gotta go with Back to the Future. No movie makes me happier than Back to the Future. I love Star Wars, I love Indiana Jones, I love John Hughes movies like 16 Candles and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Any Disney movie, any Quentin Tarantino movie, etc., etc., all those movies make me happy. This whole bookshelf and every DVD that I've had to stash in my closet because there's not enough room on these shelves, I love them all dearly, but Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie. Marty McFly is the greatest character in film history to me. One day I will do a review of all three Back to the Future films. I don't know why I haven't done it yet, but you can't find a movie that makes me happier than Back to the Future and its two counterparts in the trilogy. I love those movies so much, and now that it is the 30th anniversary, it is coming back to theaters, and I'm going to do my darndest to get front row center and actually go into that movie theater and watch that movie, and that could be the perfect time to actually give you a review. But let's continue, shall we? Sorry for the rambling. Question number 2 is disgust. Name a book or film that disgusts or grosses you out. Well, a lot of people consider this a real staple in science fiction, but the book that really grossed me out was Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. There are so many science fiction movies that have based themselves around this story, but I just really did not like the premise. Even though, in the peak of technology and civilization, it felt so demeaning and disturbing things are what really disgust me, especially when it comes to dealing with the blood and the drugs that they used on the people and the classes. It was just so unbearable to read sometimes. I really did not enjoy that book. And as far as the film goes, I've got to give it to movie 43. What a disgrace that movie is. Don't even get me started on all the gross outs that movie actually has. It had so many famous names, but it ended up being one of the most disturbingly awful films I have ever seen in my life. I swear to God, I lost about 15 IQ points from that movie. Thank goodness my grad school education has made me gain them back and a little bit more, but do not go see movie 43, because if it disgusted me, I guarantee you it will disgust you. I'll even put a link to my review of that movie in the box below. The next question is fear. What is a book or movie that scared you? Well, in regards to the books, I would have to give it to Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and I'll give you guys a great story. I was reading that book close to somewhere between 11 o'clock at night, and I had gotten to one of the scariest parts of the book. It's the scene where the main character walks with this creepy guy to discover the pet cemetery, and they are walking through this scary landscape. I was just so into it. I was just practically grabbing on to the book, digging my nails in because it was just so tense. And then all of a sudden, there's a knock at the door. I think I may have hit my head on the ceiling because I was scared to death. It was my best friend just coming to see how I was doing at 11 o'clock at night for some reason. I don't know why. But God, I will never forget that moment. Wow, I got scared. And I would have to give the movie to Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. There's been a lot of renditions of this legendary horror character, but Francis Ford Coppola turned that character and that film into one serious mindfuck. I had nightmares for weeks because of that movie. Number 4 is anger. Name a book or a movie that has made you angry. You can't get a book that makes me more angry than Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. After 2 incredible books of The Hunger Games and Catching Fire, the whole story practically gets flipped around and you get a completely different thing going on, and I just didn't understand what it was half the time, because now that Mockingjay Part 1 has come out in theaters, this is definitely more visual rather than actually reading it in the pages of the book, but that ending just upset me so much, and because of the fact that I treat my books as well as I do my DVDs and CDs practically like newborn babies, I wanted to throw that book across the room, but I didn't. But still, I hated the ending to that story. I'm very curious to see how it's going to make me feel when Mockingjay Part 2 hits theaters this winter. And as far as a movie is concerned, I have to give it to Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Loved the first one, the second one was okay, but that third one was horrendous. And I was so angry because this movie is my childhood. The Transformers are things that I adored when I was a child, and I was so excited to see a successful franchise, especially with where technology had come when it comes to visual and special effects. But what a disappointment. Michael Bay mutilated my childhood, and I don't even want to talk about Age of Extinction. We gotta wait a couple of weeks for that. And the final question is sadness. What book or movie made you cry? Well, as far as a book, that would be Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling, and that of course involved the death of Dobby the house elf. And I'm not considering that a spoiler because you should have read the books a long time ago. Or it was just a sad thing to see this beloved character that was so innocent just dying because of his heroics to save Harry Potter and his friends. And especially when you see it in the movies, it just really brings it all tenfold, and you just get those emotions right here. It really, really gets you. But it's not the movie that made me cry. The movie that made me cry is one that I'm going to talk about recently, and that is The Woman in Gold, starring Helen Mirren and Ryan Reynolds. I cried 3 times when I went to see that movie in theaters. Some people really don't care for it, but this was a movie that I truly connected with, especially since I have grandparents that are Holocaust survivors. But what really got me was the fact that this woman, played by Helen Mirren, when she has flashbacks of her past before the Nazis invaded Vienna, it reminded me of some of the stories that I had heard from my own grandmother and grandfather, who unfortunately are no longer with me, and the stories were so similar. Families that were comfortable in their community, well-respected, very wealthy, to have everything ripped away from them because of the fact that the madman decided that these people just didn't belong on this earth. It was as if my grandmother was in a movie, and it just made me tear up, and I just loved that movie so much. If you haven't seen The Woman in Gold, I really suggest that you should, because it is a fantastic film, very underrated, and one of the better films that I have seen so far in 2015. But that's the Inside Out tag, everybody, and it's time to tag some people. So, Rachel, thank you so much for tagging me. This was definitely a great tag. So who am I going to tag? Well, I'm going to tag my good friend Bre Fauchex. I'm going to tag Amy C. Books. A guy who has been taking all of my tags, my friend, I'm finally going to tag you, and that is Matthew Aronhalt. I'm also going to tag the Bearded Movie Guy, Sara Crawford, Chelsea Martin, the Fairy Tale Whale, and I'm going to close it out with Faith Johnson. So there you go, guys, the Inside Out tag. I had so much fun doing this, and I will see you in the next tag video, because there's a lot that I have on the back burner, so be prepared. Actions speak louder than words.